Don't give it up, Luffy.
You know, when I was a kid, Toonami was quite a big deal. A lot of fantastic shows were on at the time, and most of those anime series are now considered classics, such as Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin. Now, the one I'm going to talk about today is a particular show that's still going on and still very popular, called One Piece. One Piece was one of the favorite anime series that I would watch when it first came out. It started off on 4Kids TV, then eventually moved over to Cartoon Network. Then the dub changed, and then there was a break in between where Toonami went down and there were no more episodes airing. But it is back, so I would like to get back into it. I know a lot has happened, and I've been following up with the manga, but I would like to see how the anime handles the rest of the series. Now, I'm starting a new segment on my show, and it's going to be called Hidden Gems, where I talk about video games that are hidden gems. Ones that not a lot of people know about, or some that maybe nobody knows about. But to me, they're excellent games that get overlooked for one reason or another. So the reason why I brought up One Piece is that today, in the first episode, I'm going to be talking about a game based on One Piece. Now, the hidden gem that I'm talking about is for the Game Boy Advance, and it's called One Piece Grand Battle. Now, One Piece Grand Battle had a bunch of different iterations, I believe on the GameCube and the PlayStation 2, and maybe the Xbox as well. But the one that I want to talk about is the one for the Game Boy Advance. Now, the one for the Game Boy Advance is actually an incredible little game. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you play as Luffy, and you go through the main story up to past Captain Smoker when Luffy first meet him. What makes One Piece Grand Battle so good is that the gameplay is very solid. The story is spot on. You get to meet different characters throughout the levels, and you can use them for special attacks. Though Luffy is the only main character. And as you progress and level up and get more points, Luffy learns more attacks, he gets stronger, gets more health, etc., etc. So the game has high replayability because there's also a bunch of secrets that you can find throughout levels as well. Now, one particular thing that I'll note about One Piece Grand Battle would be its boss fights. And now each stage has 3 different levels, and the third level is always a boss. So the first stage is when Luffy first meets Roronoa Zoro. And so the boss is Captain Mort. It's really, really well done. And each boss fight is different. For example, there's a whole segment when you fight Don Krieg where he shoots like projectiles at you from like across the map, and you have to dodge as you get closer to him, which accurately represents the character because he was that guy with the armor that would just like go around blasting everything. And it's not just a straight up battle till you get to the final part. The part with Arlong, he actually pulls out one of the giant shark tooth sword and starts swinging it wildly. And it's very well designed for a Game Boy Advance title. Now, the reason why I believe that it didn't do so hot was that One Piece in the US wasn't at the peak that it is right now. And I think that's partially to blame for the 4Kids dub. The 4Kids dub dumbed down a lot of stuff from the series, and I believe that's why the show is more popular now that 4Kids is diminished and doesn't exist anymore and Funimation took over than when it was first released. One example of censorship within the video game is you find collectible items as you meet characters. So one character you meet is Sanji. Now, if you read the manga and you watch the current version of the show, you'll notice that Sanji's always smoking a cigarette. Now, when the 4Kids dub was happening, this couldn't be allowed. You know, smoking is bad and you shouldn't show it to kids because they get the wrong idea. They think smoking is cool and they would start doing it. So what they did was they censored it. How did they censor it? Instead of smoking a cigarette, Sanji had a lollipop. Yeah, right, a lollipop. Because it totally doesn't look like a cigarette. There would still be scenes of him like holding it like this, like he's gonna light it, but they would put a wrapper in his hand that he's taking it out of his mouth. As it turns out, one of the collectibles in One Piece Grand Battle is a lollipop, making a joke that, oh, it's not supposed to be a cigarette, but we all know what it really is supposed to be. If you can get your hands on a copy of One Piece Grand Battle for the Game Boy, I'd highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and if you're a die-hard One Piece fan, or even a casual One Piece fan, it does a good job of summing up the first few character arcs. Now, it doesn't do anything too crazy, and it's not like an award-winning game, but it's a nice little gem that I think gets overlooked all the time. Now, as I sit here ranting and raving about it, you might be asking, Kirk, why are you talking about the Game Boy version? What about the console ones? Are they any good? The only bad thing about One Piece Grand Battle is that the console version is a piece of shit.
Yo! Yayo, yayo! Dreaming.